And here is my Create This book, which I have had for 2 years and haven't done anything. Anyway, the first prompt that I'm going to do today is create patterns. And since it said patterns plural, I started to draw lines all over the page so I could fill each section with different patterns. And this is me at a loss of what to draw. So I tried to draw something, which ended up being these drippy drips, and so after I finished that, I just stared at it and realized that I hated it. So I drew more lines in a spirally form. I guess it was fine, so I kept it and moved on. In the next section, I drew honeycomb, which I actually liked, but
Struggling.
I could not think of something else for the next section.
Oh, why am I so stuck?
And then I drew this. It's becoming very clear to me that I cannot draw today.
That looks so bad. I hate this. Why am I struggling with patterns?
I think I might be struggling. Just a little bit.
Oh my gosh. I'm struggling today. I'm struggling.
So here we are the next day, and well, that was aggressive. Actually, I think I took a few days break from this and then came back and was actually able to create some decent patterns, although some were still a little questionable, but it worked out.
Oh my gosh.
I brought in my markers, then lightly erased the sketch so you couldn't see the pencil lines through the marker. With this page, I wanted to try and use colors I don't necessarily use all the time, even though I did end up using colors that I do use all the time, but I did experiment with different colors that I kind of forgot about. Along with that, I wanted to make sure that the patterns kind of matched each other, so I had maybe 3 different color schemes,
I guess,
that I repeatedly used in different sections so that they all tied together. You can see that as I start to color this pattern with the same colors I used for the honeycomb. Although 2 of the same color do touch each other, and it's really annoying. My camera also decided to stop recording every once in a while through this process, which was also very annoying. Finishing up the final pattern and then adding a nice outline around every pattern and in every pattern just to make it look nicer and pull it all together. It also just looks cleaner that way. After I finished the outline, I signed the bottom, and here is the completed page. And I am very happy with how this turned out. It's very, very colorful, and this pattern up here matches my rule for adding a star to every page. Not gonna lie, I always forget that rule, but it ends up in there somehow. And moving on to the next page, which is create a physical collection of specific objects. Choose one of the following objects to collect on this page: buttons, feathers, strings, or wrappers. So I brought out my absurd amount of buttons, took out these 2 that I thought were really cool, and then began to sift through the collection of buttons to find ones that were worthy of being in my Create This book.
It's got an anchor on it.
And then I proceeded to put all these buttons away because I no longer need them.
There's a lot more buttons than I wanted.
So then I sifted through them again to find more specific buttons that I wanted to use. I brought the book back in so I could paint it this nice light muted green color that I really love as the background. I felt like the other side needed some color, so I kind of dry brushed it on there along with adding white on the other side as well. Remove the paper, and here are the buttons that I will be using, along with some extras that I felt like using as well. 2 of the buttons didn't have holes, they just had this weird nipple thing in the back. I don't know how to explain it. It just made the button pop out a little more. After arranging my buttons, I then proceeded to start gluing them into the book. The weird nipple buttons had to have special treatment. I had to hold them in a very specific place so they would dry, not weird. Since it looked a little plain, I added lines connecting the buttons like they were constellations. I also added stars to kind of help with this idea, but I'm not quite sure how well the idea comes across. I also added the little extra pieces if I can hold on to them. I also had these metallic markers that kind of outline themselves that I wanted to try, but since I had used paint on this page, it didn't really work. But this is what they're kind of supposed to look like, even though you can't see it very well. And of course, signing the page, and here is it complete. I like this page, I guess, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite one. It just seems a little off to me, but I still like the buttons on it. Moving on to the final page of today, which says to create an applied suggestion. Ask a friend what you should do on this page. Use their first suggestion. My camera cut out, but basically I asked my best friend what I should draw on this page, and they said to try and draw something that I've never tried to draw before. Oh, and I also painted the background blue. And then I took a dark marker and tried to add some more depth because this is going to be an ocean. I'm going to try to draw ocean creatures. Out with the book and in with the sketchbook, which is ideal for pencils, pen, charcoal, and pastels, none of which we are using. Have I broken a rule of sketchbooks? Probably. A bit of clickety-clack on my computer to find a reference, and here we are, starting the first ocean creature, which is a turtle.
It's a buff turtle.
I also feel the need to mention that through this process of drawing and coloring these sea creatures, I made a lot of commentary for literally no reason. I knew I was going to do a voiceover, but I still made a lot of commentary as if I was making the voiceover right then and there.
Oh my gosh, okay, I have to put the derpy eyes on it. I cannot resist. It's a blippy turtle. I love the blippy turtle.
The second sea creature I decided to draw was an octopus, and, bear with me here.
I'm trying to draw like kind of derpy looking. This is scary.
And yes, I'm very aware you can only see 6 of the legs. The other 2 are in the background, trust me.
He's an octopus. He's not a very happy octopus. Why? Because he looks really derpy.
I think I resorted to just making them all look derpy. Then I started to draw squid, but
that's the worst spot to put a squid.
So I erased it and moved it to a place that honestly probably wasn't any better than where it was because some of its legs I've gotten cut off. The final animal that I decided to draw was a shark. I've wanted to draw a shark for a while, but I just haven't.
That looks stupid. We're not doing that.
I had to fiddle with the hammered head part because it just wasn't looking right, but finally I got it to look decent. Now it's time to lightly erase and bring in the colors. I got a handful of new markers recently, which include the Faber Castell Pitt artist pen, some cheap brand that I found, and the Copic Chao markers, which also came with 2 fine liners in 0.3. First things first, of course, I had to swatch all the colors so I know what they looked like on the paper that I was using so I could figure out what colors that I wanted to use for my ocean creatures. I also tested how the fine liners worked on top of the colors, then began to color in my octopus. I made him a blue octopus and took the Faber Castell marker and kind of outlined it a little bit, more of like a kind of sketchy style. I was feeling more of like a sketchy-esque style, if that makes sense. I added the little sucker things with a white Posca pen and made a mess while I was at it. I added some final details and he was done. So I moved on to the turtle, and the process is basically the same thing, so I skip over most of that.
Looks like he's sunburnt. He looks like a sunburnt turtle.
After I finished the turtle, I moved on to the hammerhead shark.
This is my derpy looking shark. I hope you appreciate him. Why he built like that?
I started to outline him with the Faber Castell marker, then realized I had a blue fine liner, so I started to outline him with that, but I took this to my advantage to make a more little sketchy style with the pen.
Posca pen, where you at?
As if clapping is gonna summon the Posca pen. And the final ocean creature was the squid. Like I said, it's basically the same process, so I'm not going to go into super detail about it because the squid is basically already done.
Posca pen? Where's my Posca pen? There it is.
Apparently my Posca pen doesn't want to make highlights, keeps running away from me.
he looks frightened. Okay. I'm satisfied with my creatures.
I ripped the page out of the sketchbook and then brought out my scissors and began cutting out the creatures out of the paper so that I could put them in the book. Scissoring isn't very special, I'm just cutting things out, so...
No, squid!
Squid fell off the table. I don't think the squid thought it was fun either. And finally, it's time to glue these creatures in. They almost didn't fit.
Oh, I'm gonna rip the squid. I don't wanna rip the squid. The squid has me.
That was not a very flattering squid song.
I cannot function, apparently. Today is not a day for functionality.
Gluing in our sketchy shark and our buff man turtle.
Oh my god, he looks like a weird buff man. I don't like it.
I added some final details, bubbles, and stars, coated it in Mod Podge, and here is the finished product. We have a sketchy shark who looks like he's guilty. We have a buff man turtle. We have a squid and an annoyed looking octopus. I am very happy with how this page turned out. It's very fun, and I love my ocean creatures that I have created. But anyway, guys, that is all for today. I am very happy with the pages that I completed today, even the button one that's kind of off to me, but it's fine. And as always, I hope you enjoyed today's video and this new Create This Book episode, and I also hope that you have a fantabulous rest of your day. Bye!